Hello and welcome once again to another StarCraft replay by myself, Jim Raynor, the liberator of all who struggle against the forces who hate good and love evil. Well, joining us with us today is a matchup between two exceedingly skilled players that I will smartly introduce. Allerian, our favorite red Zerg on the lower left of Antigua shipyards, and his opponent Dinomight, the blue Protoss on the top right. This particular match was sent to me by one of my staff members, all of which sift through literally hundreds of potentially worthy games for me to cast. But this one was flagged as particularly interesting, so I had to take a look. And I really look forward to seeing what kind of silly shenanigans we have waiting for us here. What I've heard about this particular game was it was actually designed to be a tiebreaker between these two. They had been gambling for money against who would win. And they had been apparently on this long marathon. I don't know how many games they've been playing, but apparently a lot of money was on the line. Allerian, being the great-grandson of a very wealthy Texas oil tycoon, who lives the life of a rich playboy blowing money on whatever, well, he bet a small fortune on this game, and I think the monetary value was something close to what one of his personal Lear jets would have cost. And Dino, of course, who has amassed a large fortune just from publishing his own books, the Protoss for Dummies books. He's amassed such a fortune that he can certainly afford to risk a little bit on a game like this. But let's get underway, shall we? We have our blue Protoss. Let me go to everybody's cam. Doing a little bit of shenanigans there, doing the pylon block, which is always a fan favorite of mine. Pool before hatch, obviously, there's nothing he can do, so Allerian has to wait until that pylon's either cancelled or destroyed. There are no Zerglings on the line. Get the production tab going. We only have Overlords and 0 production. He's got to get that probe out of the way. Make that hatch. He's got the money. It's just a matter of micro. And there we go. Probe is just about out of health, so we need not worry. It will take quite a long time before he can take out the health of that freshly spawned hatchery. So Allerian is in fairly good shape. We got our cybernetics core on the way. We got 1 gate, 1 gas. He's got 2 pylons. Build order pretty standard. His probe is going to go back home, hopefully to do some mining. And our Overlord is already in position to spot for that expansion whenever it shall occur, and a second one on the way. A couple of Zerglings on the field, about ready to at least touch the Watchnaga Tower in the middle, see if there's anything going on there. Nothing to behold. Alright, so we're just going to lay in wait, and we've got 2 more on the way, and a Roach Warren. Allerian going for probably early harass. He's got his second hatch just about ready. And oh my goodness, look what we've got from our blue Protoss player. A very early Stargate. Atypical. Very atypical. But very good nonetheless. His gases are saturated. He's ready for some air shenanigans. Port gate technology is just about on the way. Halfway, well, less than halfway through. Now what is Allerian going to see with his little Zerglings? He's not going to see much because Dino, being a very skilled wall-off player, was able to properly wall off. There's nothing getting through that. Actually, Dino, in one of the chapters of his book, Protoss for Dummies, he devoted an entire chapter to how to wall off properly, the most efficient wall-off in every single map, of every map that's commonly played, at least in StarCraft today. So if you ever need a good reference to how to wall off, this one's easy. But when you want to wall off on the low ground of your natural, on the high ground of your natural, you got to check out one of Dino's books. It's very thorough. The timings are all laid out very, very idiot proof. Of course, Protoss for Dummies. So what do we got going on here? We got a Void Ray on the way, and I imagine he's probably going to send that to do some harassment. Otherwise, he's going to have a very weak army if he just decides to mass these things like some of us do on the cheesier 4v4 or free-for-all games. Spawning pool is there, obviously. Metabolic boost just about done. evolution chamber with researching the ground carapace level 1, and 2 very hungry void rays on the way. What do we have for anti-air? We've got 2 queens, and that's it. Well, we might want to get some spore crawlers, which he can very soon because he has his Evo chamber up. But is it going to be too little too late? All we have to do is, there's nothing nearby to charge up on, so if Dino decides, he's going to have to just go in there with his voids as is, but he's going to be able to actually take out this little drone that is, oh no, yep, cancel that, lost money. 2 void rays and 2 phoenixes are on the way. All we have to do is lift off that queen. Oh no, we've got 3 queens. It's going to be a little bit harder now. Lift up that queen, poke him, get those void rays to focus on, and yep, 1 queen at a time. We're losing health on that phoenix, but oh, good micro. He sends it away. We got a spore crawler on the way. That's going to probably hit the phoenix first. There we go. Harassment abated. Very good hold by Allerian. In the meantime, our macroing champion is got stalkers on the way. We got to clear away those pesky little bugs, zerglings. But our Air Force is still lying in wait right there for that 3rd. Might be prudent at this point to get his 2nd, and he does. So Dinomight is all over it. Very good air coverage, or as far as air scouting by Allerian as always. I would expect nothing less. A couple zerglings on the tower. They're going to be shooed away by the nasty void ray. And we've got some creep tumors coming out. Let's take a look at the units tab. Actually, let's look at the income tab. Our income tab is fairly even. Our Zerg player is ahead a little bit because he has had his hatchery up quite a long time. Our harvester count is actually favoring our Zerg player. The Chrono Boost has likely been spent on this early air harass rather than probes, which is quite appropriate. And we got roaches. Now this seemingly early roach harass that Allerian may have had in mind was obviously halted due to this very smart play of early air harassment. And it's caused Allerian to kind of sit back in his base and macro a little bit. He may not feel as comfortable seeing how the only anti-air units that he has are queens. And that's a very difficult thing to expect. By the time that the Zerg could make it all the way across the map, I'm sure he would be in a great deal of low health due to the air capabilities of our Protoss player. Smart play. We're going in for a little bit of overlord hunting. Got to watch out for those spore crawlers. What can Allerian do? Nothing. Not really much. He can send his queens, try to shoo them away. He does have a smartly placed spore crawler. Could probably be a little bit closer to about here, but we're doing good. He's got his upgrades going. Plenty of spore crawler coverage. Let's take a look at the army tab. Well, we certainly have a lot invested in Dinomight's army. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gates. What are we going to produce out of our robo facility? He's got a rally. Oh, we're going to make very good choice. The counter to roaches would be the Immortals. Pack of Zerglings coming up to maybe do a little bit of poking. They're not going to be able to do much of anything, at least in the middle of the battlefield. It's going to take a long time for those Zerglings, or for those Void Rays to do anything about those Zerglings. So it's appropriate for Allerian to just kind of bring him out there and poke in and see what kind of unit composition he's dealing with. Force fields block him from doing a whole lot of scouting, but he was certainly able to at least keep the Zerg on his toes. And sacrifice for the cause, for the Overmind, a few more Zerglings to these impenetrable Void Rays who cannot be touched by Zerglings. Want to fly those Void Rays away from the Queens. Good creep spread. Allerian is obviously really wanting to get that third, I'm sure. But how can you do that when you've got phoenixes that can lift up 3 queens at a time? Insane. 5 queens. So it's kind of an interesting little game here where we have Allerian unable to get his third, and Dino unable to really do much damage because of the queen coverage. Upgraded queen to armor 2 already. 1 Zergling up there to check for a third. Being very active on the map. Dinomight is going this way and that way. Just looking for whatever he could find. Alright, so those roaches. How many roaches do we have? Well, he made the roach warrant, and then he made only 5 roaches. Probably hoping for more, but at this stage of the game, it's probably not as intelligent since there's so much air. But banelings on the way. Let's do a big baneling bust. Very wise choice. All he has to do is bust in there and get a whole buttload of those Zerglings into that base. And there's just not enough void rays to be able to deal with all that DPS. Another flock of phoenixes coming in. They would like to pick up a few queens or a few drones, but those 4 crawlers are going to shoo them away. And these are the days of queens, my friends. This is 7 queens. Not unheard of in today. Oh, there's an 8th one. Not unheard of in this day where the queen range has certainly been a nice boon to Zerg players. Certainly shows up in the what do they call that? The meta game. We have uber creep coverage. If he can get that all the way up to the tower, he'd be in really good shape. Grab the tower. And we still don't have a third for neither Allerian nor Dinomight. At 17 minutes, both of these players would have been almost thinking about a 4th. But here we go with the banelings. They're going to lose a lot of banelings. That didn't work out very well. Let's look at the units lost tab. Not very good for our red Zerg player. All that anti-air. You can't bring in banelings with all that anti-air and expect to do a whole lot of damage. It would have been great if he had been able to catch his opponent out of position, but that certainly wasn't the case. But there's plenty of larvae to go around. We can always rebuild that stuff and see what happens. What he really needs is to get some corruptors in the air. So he's got to be teching up. He's got his lair just about done there. We want to get a, what do we have here? Where's your spire? Do you have a spire? Allerian does not have a spire. Am I missing something? Alright, well, at any rate, all ground, fine. If you can out DPS your enemy, it doesn't really matter, but the unit composition for Allerian is somewhat questionable. We have some sentries that can obviously mitigate by force field a lot of these banelings, provided that Dinomight is true to his glorious micro, which he is very famous for. And we're going to move to the middle of the map, only to see a lot more anti-air than he thought before. My goodness. And here we go. Get those force fields up. Get the force fields up. He got a couple of them, but probably not a lot, and he's going to lose his sentries. Not very good. The standing army is Void Rays and Phoenixes, and a lot of Queens. Quite a silly game. But through all this craziness, Dinomight was able to get his third, and so was Allerian. Upgrading our forge. And we're going to go for those back rocks. He did upgrade them to the warp gates, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gates. And we've apparently given up on air superiority for the time being, as nothing is being produced from the starport. A smartly placed cannon behind a very ironclad wall of gateways. I don't believe that is a full airtight wall. I think those Zerglings could probably sneak through there if they tried. And Allerian massing forces in the center of the map. Oh, very nice harassment. I must have missed this. I apologize. But we're gonna lose our our zealots due to the mass zerglings just in time for that hatchery to finally find its way to survival. In the meantime, another warp prism harassment. Oh, and look at what we're doing here. We've got two fights going on at the same time. According to the Allerian cam, we're struggling against a lot of zealots, and Dinomight is just about able to defend his third, cannoning up. And we have a lot of units lost. Look at we're about dead even on the units lost. We still have those 5 initial roaches that haven't seen much combat, have they? Do we have any kills? Nope. But they're there, and they're ready. Where's our warp prison? Don't know where our warp prison is. Probably died due to the spore crawler, I imagine. More banelings. Why not? The exact counter to sentries and Colossus. Twilight Council there for some good upgrades. Doesn't look like we're going to go with any High Templars at this point. Just Zealots, Colossus, and Void Rays. Allerian, as hurt as that hatchery is, it still can mine provided you saturate it, which he does. Very good. And what is Allerian going to do? Well, he's going to probably go up and around. This is going to be very difficult. Those Colossus are going to certainly do a lot of work, and of course, yes, they can just peek in there through that little tiny choke. Take out the necessary pylons to depower those gateways, and go straight for the Colossus. He doesn't even care. And the Queens have been taken off of inject larva duty to do as much damage as they possibly can. He needs to get this third dead if he's to have any hope to win this game. Allerian, even though the Phoenixes can do a little bit of damage against his Queens, he's okay. A desperate battle for survival. Dinomight trying to defend the honor of Ire, while Allerian attempting to destroy the universe through the propagation of the Overmind. Just about ready to die. Ah, DT's on the way. As if Dino's build was not cheesy enough. Do we have any Overlord coverage at all in the near vicinity? Nothing. He is on his own. There's no detection whatsoever. Very brilliant play by Dino. But we're not going to get by those cannons. Excuse me. I totally screwed up. Of course he doesn't need to get by his own cannons. And Allerian has left the game. So there we have it. A very silly game by 2 prolific players. I'm going to write up a detailed report about the build order so that everybody can understand. Oh boy, I didn't realize this before. Another cheesy build. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening, and have a nice day. Hasta la vista. Arrivederci. And goodbye.